jobs, and probably has several jobs at the same time. And the most recent job, I think, what is definitely what got him here, which is the, how do you actually, API
NF or whatever. Yeah, it's a difficult, I know.
Yeah, up in Finnish, but maybe, I don't know what's that in English. API Apinf.
Yeah.
Let's use the Finnish name. Apinf is a company, actually Tampere-based company, or origins from Tampere, but like a global movement. And what Jarkko is famous for, I think it's safe to say, is kind of starting up communities. So maybe you will mention some of the communities that you have been part of starting up, but that's definitely his thing. So kind of moving in between organizations, jumping from an organization to another, and starting communities, starting up new things, starting on kind of processes that will kind of grow at best, take new people and then the community starts to run on its own. And this particular community that you are here to start up or maybe grow, I think it has started up already, is APIOps, and that will be the topic of the talk. So happy to have you here again, Jarkko.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that was pretty accurate. I'm not a community manager. I hate when it gets boring. So I'm a community midwife. I get things started. I come between of chaos and I create some kind of order, and then I hand it over and move to another thing. So I'm a grasshopper in a way. I never settle anywhere longer than 2-3 years, and then I jump off again. But again, I love communities. I've been taught, educated by communities, technical communities all my life. I don't have a technical background. My background is in the University of Tampere, and from there it was political science. But I'm a C64, Commodore 64 generation, so I get familiar with the computers when I was like 6 years old, and I got fond of the culture of computers and the people around the computers and doing new stuff and inventing new stuff. And eventually it resulted in the situation that 2009 I established the Tampere Hack Lab, Tampere Hackerspace, and now it contains like 300 people in there. They have own space and 3D printers, plasma cutters, woodwork, and everything else. So I love communities. And well, anyway, I have done some programming myself, but not seriously, just fiddling around with stuff. And so I'm not a technical expert, but I do understand the language of technical people. So I can mediate to, let's say, to business people. What are these people saying, these technical people, in fact? But anyway, as it was mentioned, the latest effort that I'm pushing now is the APIOps network or movement. We want to call it as a movement, so it will be a bigger one, not just a community. And we've taken the idea of DevOps, actually. So how many of you know the word, at least, DevOps? A few. It's a development plus the operations in service development. So automation is the key word. So we've taken the dev away and put the API in front. So APIOps, and that's exactly what we're doing now, and trying to build a bigger community around this kind of topic. And today's story, yeah, this is the welcome part, basically now going on, and then I'm gonna tell you short version of the APIOps community history. It's a story, actually, not just a few slides, but I'll tell you where it came from and what is it now and what is going now, and what are the opportunities for you in concrete ways. And one of the important part of community work is that you actually give something to the community. And we started this kind of APIOps Appreciation reward, and at the moment it's a Amazon gift card, this time $50, and it's going to go to anyone who's the most active here. So it's going to be decided after the presentation who actually gets it, and let's see how do we actually pick the one who's the most active. The activity can also be in the online So it's not just for this audience and only the physical side of it. So please use the hashtag APIOps or add the user account as well, APIOps there if you happen to be in Twitter. Be active, ask questions. This is for the discussion, not for a monologue. This is not a public dissertation thesis, and let's keep it so. Those are different kind of events. So this is community stuff. Raise your hand if you have something you disagree or you want to say something. Go ahead. And then again, we'll have a bonus presentation coming from Nasia about the UX design, and that's somehow related to API work, API management, and let's hear what she has to say after my presentation at some point. Possibly there's a break point when we switch to presentation, so that's your chance to get rid of here, leave the premises, or then go to the toilet and come back. All right. That was a brief introduction about me, and here's my mysterious Twitter account if you want to follow me. And our organization for a company is for the community. It's apinf.org. And in this context, my expertise is the developer experience, API value chain, and APIOps, naturally. I'm really enthusiastic in developer experience and trying to understand what it actually means in API economy, and what's the difference to normal, so to say, normal developer experience, and how do you actually make APIs most easily to approach and to adopt and to learn. That's what the developer experience is about. But then again, I'm interested about the value chains, because that's where the money actually comes from. That's where the automation comes into hand. You want to make things automated as much as possible. And the automation is the key part of the APIOps community. I've tried to make a sort of simple, some kind of value promise for the APIOps community, and this is what it is now. So APIOps is about building standardized API value chain automation with the community for the community. And the latter part is referring to actually doing it together, mostly open source, and giving you back when you give us something. But anyway, standardized API value chain automation is the big effort that we actually want to do. We already started 2015, and these are the guys who actually started the APIOps already 2015. There's one guy missing, but we had to switch places who's going to take the picture, and we didn't have any additional persons in the building. So this one is a different person in different photograph, but let's not that be in a way. But there's a few people in Tampere who actually decided that, yeah, let's build this APIOps community, and then we started to think, well, what is the actual content of it? We came up with the name first, and then we decided, what is this going to be about? And at that point, the company Apin actually was initiated as a project. So these guys decided to try, can we actually build a new kind of API management? Because we're not satisfied with the options that we have at the market. And we started out an experiment, and eventually it came to a company. Here's our CEO, by the way. We tried to make him unemployed so that he can go fishing or something, and we as a team handle all the stuff. Anyway, 2015, 2016 was sort of quite slow for us. We had around 70 members in the community, so a bunch of people. But we did manage to organize 2-day-long API days Nordic event in Tampere, and we had around 150 participants around the world participating in the event. It was in the city center, University of Tampere, provided the facilities for it, but we brought the content. So that was a big effort for the 70 people who were involved at that point. And then by the turn of the year, 2017, in January, the company that I represent started to made a decision to actually put resources to build the actual APIOps network. And eventually that was the moment that we started to grow as a network. And now we have around 200 members. And we have 3 groups, well, 2.5. Tampere and Helsinki are active ones, and the Budapest it's ripe. There was I put it outside one night on Saturday or Sunday, and there was like 40 people immediately there. And I announced first meetup without a date, and there's 8 or 9 people already there. So it's there. We just have to go there and start it. So there's enough interest for this kind of efforts around the world already. And this should give you the signal that we're not gonna stay here in Finland, but we're gonna go abroad pretty fast and grow it a bigger one. And to actually that's the first platform we joined up with, and we have a joint plan that wherever is demo location, there's gonna be APIOps. So 19 locations where the demo is now, there will be APIOps Network local group, 2017, 2018. Let's see how fast we actually can grow. And we're not going to stop there, but when we have, let's say, 20, 21, 22 groups, global groups in the world, the snowball effect will hopefully come, and then they start rolling and establishing group their own. But we will push the growth of this network together with demo. And as I mentioned, one of the current modes of APIOps appreciation is the Amazon gift cards. And as I mentioned, today is going to be given to some active participants since we don't have community speakers here. But whenever someone is speaking at the APIOps event, they will get a gift card for Amazon. It can be Heroku, it can be something else. We can decide as a community what kind of gift cards or some kind of other forms of appreciation we can actually give for the community. But anyway, now it's going to be the Amazon because I bought it already. So no more discussion about different kind of gift cards at the moment. But as far as I know, you can use it for example, the Amazon Web Services and also buy a book for your wife or your kids or whatever you want to do. It's pretty useful. Let's see. And we have established a blog in Medium, so medium.com/APIOps. There's a few blog posts now, but you're free to join us if you have a topic about APIs and you want to tell it to the world. Make an account to Medium, and then let me know, and I'll add you as a writer in the community. So you can actually blog your stuff over there if you want. We would love to see people blogging in the community as well. And let's see if there would be some kind of appreciation mode also for this kind of efforts. Let's see. What I want to see in the community is that instead of saying can't be done, we say let's try. So it's about experimentations. It's about going beyond the borders and explore the world of APIs and API networks and API value chains. So it's an experimentation network actually, and the community is there to mediate information, knowledge, and even resources. And what I want to actually see eventually is the Boston dynamics of APIs. This community should be something really on the edge. Be something bold. Don't think as small, but try to think big right away. And so no, I don't want to see any conventional boring solutions. I want to see some kind of bold ideas what you actually could do if you had the resources, if you had all the things that you actually need. And it's up to us to actually, as a community, to find you the resources to do it and do an experimentation, which eventually might become even global standard for doing some kind of a part of the value chain in APIs. So dynamics and automation is what I'm actually looking for. You might disagree, and I would love to hear opinions as well. So the ideas for the APIOps concrete aims come from the community, but the community also includes the companies that are involved at some point, constantly or occasionally, or during the meetups or somewhere else. Anyway, we need ideas, and we as a community will start to find resources how to make an experimentation on your idea, how to make it real and see if it actually is profitable, if it makes sense, if it helps you automate, whatever. And we seek out the partners for you, and the more we get traction to the community, the more we get the companies involved, and companies have the resources, and they have the interest to actually to explore new opportunities, because those might become the big golden nuggets that they actually make a lot of profit eventually. And I would love to see mostly open source driven effort, so that this is not a startup incubator for whatever closed source solutions you want to build, but make it openly with the community and for the community. I mean, you can select your approach. How do you actually come to the API world itself? This is a stupid question, but I want to activate you. What is this? Yeah, it's a metro map. That's accurate enough. Even the location is not important, but yeah, as it says, there's Athens International Airport and everything. It's there. So why do I speak about subway networks or subway lines in APIs? Is the idea that there's this bigger evangelist of APIs, or more better known and more experienced evangelist called Kin Lane. And he uses this analogy of subway maps and subway lines about API value chains. So each of these stations is a piece of something that has to be done with software or manually by people. And each of these lines is a value chain. Simple as that. So he's been working this kind of map and lines that actually the companies and even developers go through when they work with the APIs. And so these tools might be existing already in the markets. Some of them are not there yet. We as a community can start implementing those, trying out those, what it could be actually. And then the more important part, or the additional part, is the automation between the stations. So we would be building API value chain subways or lines or carriages. So there's two parts: implementing some of the tools that are still missing in the value chains, and then building the automation between the parts. That's one way to actually approach the whole idea of API economy, and trying to see the bigger picture and think through there. The other way is to think about the journeys. Developers have different kind of journeys they go through, and then there's the API owner's journey as well, that you have to think about what happens before they actually come to your API, and how do you actually make them interested about your API. How do you make them actually return to your API, and how do you actually make them to blog about your API, and so on. So it's a one opportunity to actually take this kind of approach. To think this is not actual API developer or API owner journey. This is strictly taken out of the web. This is customer journey. But again, I'm stealing something and trying to fit it in here, and I leave it up to you actually fill in what this actually say, all the texts here. We haven't done that. In our company, we're building this now. So we're taking this kind of approach at the moment. And then there's the technical approach, the latest hype world or hype concept, or whatever you want to call it, the serverless approach, using the Lambda functions and so on. So you actually, that's different kind of APIs or different kind of purposes and different kind of architecture fitting better in different situations. But this, I took it as an example because we are in a technical university. So this is the technical approach of it. You can always come from there as well, instead of thinking the customer itself or the values of the API value chains or anything. You can pick technical approach as well. It's up to you actually where do you actually come from. But these three directions are pretty obvious. But what actually combines them, what's the similarity? It's the automation and the value chains anyway. They somehow touch those two components anyway. And this is what the APIOps is about: the value chains and the automation in between the components. Does it make sense? Good, good. All right, then for the practical part, or something that was the background of everything. So a few examples of a few ongoing experiments that's going on now. It could be eventually, it could be something like injecting something on a tomato, but this is more digital that we're doing now. One of the ideas, this is ideal level of experimentation. It hasn't been even tested anywhere or anything other than I've been talking to developers and some business owners about this kind of idea that so far the developer experience is always the same for every goddamn API, or it at least should be. Same kind of elements in same order and whatever you want to call it. All these assume that developers are learning your API similar way, similar style, and similar order in the elements. But in reality, people learn with different styles and different orders. So what if we could actually build an adaptive developer experience? A system would actually learn how the developer wants to learn the new API. And we would gather a profile, a learning profile about the developer. And when a new API is given to the developer, it would actually possibly show a 2-minute video before it's showing any documentation. Or it could throw out ready-made copy-paste codes as first thing. Some people want to jump into the code and then go see something else. But we should know how this developer wants to learn the API and make it as fast and as painlessly as possible. And this is why, when it came to adaptive API developer experience, what if we apply the learning analytics as the first step? You want to know how people learn. You get information about that, and the next step is to put the AI behind it, artificial intelligence. Actually, and the third step is actually exporting the profile, developer profile, to another system, so that they don't have to start building the profiles from the scratch, but we can actually take it away. And this could be my data, for example. With the consent, I can give my profile to another system.
Is it some kind of A/B testing, or what is the method of learning in this type?
We haven't thought about